Welcome to Corrective Consciousness episode 289, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And we have another beautiful, wonderful, great show here for you folks. This week we kind of wanted to take a deviation away from like our series coverage. We just got done the Matrix franchise, and I've been really enjoying doing those. So we'll probably continue. You know, they're also like they also take up a lot of episodes. They give us so plenty of material to work with. Like if we want to kind of do a deep dive, which is really great. And I think people appreciate that kind of stuff as well, but every once in a while we gotta go back to a classic kind of topic here, and we just wanted to go over adaptations, like how they can be good and how they can be bad. You really thought of this one, so I'm sure you had something in mind, Lotus, when you thought of this.
What's an adaptation?
Well, see, it's a Charlie Kaufman movie.
I opened the dictionary, but I really didn't get very far, and I was like, "That's the word for me."
Actually, we can talk about that Charlie Kaufman movie, but we'll get to that.
I think the only Charlie Kaufman movie I've ever seen, unless I've seen something that I didn't know was him, was Being John Malkovich, but that was when I was like in high school.
Yeah, well, they kind of followed that up. The same team of people made the movie Adaptation, which is a joke kind of name, and I'll get into that. But I did want you to be able to... I'm sure you had a couple examples already like brought up in your head on what you wanted to say here.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, because people have been talking about the upcoming Uncharted TV series, the upcoming Halo...
Is it a TV series or is it a movie?
Oh, I don't... Maybe it was a movie. The upcoming Halo TV series. I think that one's a TV series. I think. Okay, we got it. But I was just thinking, I mean, it doesn't have to be video game adaptation specifically. There's books to movies, there's movies to books, there's plays to books to movie. You know, there's all sorts of different kinds of adaptations, of course. But I was thinking a lot of what makes video game adaptations, or a lot of what makes the video games themselves interesting is the fact that you're the one playing them. Like, there are lots of stories that, like, something like Uncharted, you don't personally get that sense of discovery. Like, you could do, like, an Indiana Jones thing, which Uncharted is very similar to, but you're not going to be puzzle-solving or doing the stuff like that. In Silent Hill, you're not afraid of going around the corner because you have no control. You're watching the character go around the corner, so it becomes a more standard horror movie at that point, but with Silent Hill themes, stuff like that.
Sure.
I think as far as video games are concerned, a lot of, like, the best chance for things to work is when they're really simple, like beat-em-ups or fighting games. Like Mortal Kombat, the first one, is one of the better ones, and it's not a spectacular movie, but it's like, it's literally...
Gets the material so...
Yeah, I have a tournament, you guys punch each other. Like, that's all the game was... That's all the movie is.
It's Enter the Dragon, but with a magical element.
It really, it's Enter the Dragon or Bloodsport, the video game. And then what if we made a movie of it? It's like, well, we already have movies of both of those things, but this time it's a Mortal Kombat movie. So, like, that's why that worked pretty well. But when you start doing, like, Prince of Persia or, like, Hitman, it's just not the same, especially Hitman, regarding, like, the whole interesting thing about that is how you go about executing your missions. But when you watch a movie, it's just like, cool guy in a suit kicks ass. You may as well be watching a Jason Bourne movie or a James Bond movie or something.
Yeah, I kind of go back to a quote from a developer of Halo 1.
Okay.
Is one of the things that I heard from them, I don't know how many years ago it is, but essentially you want to have 11 seconds of fun that you build a game around.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
I've never heard this.
So if you can take that 11 seconds of fun and spread it out and put it in different situations, then you have a game. But you need to have at least 11 seconds of fun. and that 11 seconds can be repeated because your brain will like it, but it needs to be put in different contexts in order to remain good.
Well, yeah, that's true, because if you enter the same room and do the same thing every time, like, you have to really be in the right kind of headspace to want that. Otherwise, it's just, I did this already.
Yeah, so, I mean, so the better video game adaptations, what do we have? We have, Mortal Kombat. I mean, supposedly Sonic the Hedgehog is pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but yeah. Silent Hill was apparently pretty decent, despite what I just said about, like, Silent Hill probably not working very well, but Silent Hill 1, there was symbolism in it, but it wasn't like you weren't personally identifying with Harry the way you kind of did with James, because with Harry, you're like, I gotta save my daughter, I guess, but, like, you know, and Rose had the same thing in the movie, but in Silent Hill 2, the entire game is symbolic of, like, you rather than a different character, so you're, like, picking up on your own kind of character's evolution as you go when things are changing to, like, conform or subvert the player's expectations, while in Silent Hill 1, it's more like, look at this weird fucked up thing, I wonder what it means for whoever's making it. Mm-hmm. So Silent Hill 1 was more of a horror movie. It just stood out from Resident Evil because the scares weren't scary monsters are running at you. Like, those existed, but it was more aesthetic. So the movie, even though it butchered the main villain, actually, absolutely nailed the visuals. Like, it looks like a Silent Hill movie. The more you think about it, the more you're like, but, like, it really looks the part. It's still one of the better adaptations as far as, like, straight up standard horror movie that happens to be a video game.
Well, what I was kind of getting at with my my quote is that a movie like completely strips that 11 seconds of fun out of the experience.
Yeah, you don't get that, like, headshot feel, like you're not doing it.
Exactly. Essentially, every video game is like fun bit is either a puzzle or a reflex test or some kind of like combination of both of those things, and I'd be hard pressed to find a video game that doesn't use that. Any you know, like visual novel.
I was just gonna mention the closest I can think of is a pure visual novel, like Higurashi.
Yeah,
but at that point you can adapt that because it's just that even the game was entirely passive.
A story. Yeah, no, it's more like a book than anything. The only digital element is pressing the button, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so you press X to turn the page. So, like, you could definitely adapt that because it's already just you're sitting back and watching.
Exactly. So like you could have a whole movie of Snatcher. That's fine. I mean, like,
we already do.
Yeah, I know, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
It would the only thing that that Snatcher has in it that that wouldn't replicate well is the feeling of discovery. Like, if you like going into Jordan is one of the best things in the game because you could just get lost in Jordan.
Well, the thing is, though, as cool as that is, like, you could mostly cut it from the game, honestly. It's really cool to have. Like, Snatcher, I actually think, could be adapted very effectively into a movie, because most of what you do is, like, figure out the right combination of things to be able to, like, play the game.
Yeah, I mean, the gamey parts of it are oddly the things that bog it down.
Yeah, the gunplay, like, you could really just eliminate.
Yeah,
and there's only like 3 of them in the whole game anyway, or like 4.
Yeah, exactly, and it kind of feels. It's also very extremely simplistic in terms of
it's the Sunset
shooting.
Riders minigame.
Yeah, it's what 8 directions, and
yeah, it's like 9
button.
Boxes on a grid. I mean, you could use your light gun to actually aim, but yeah, it's 8 directions.
Yeah, no, it's incredibly simplistic. Like, so simplistic that, like, an Atari 2600 could do that game just with not as good of graphics. So, like, that part of it. But anyway, my thought is that, like, in a Metroid game, the fun of it is exploring the contiguous level design, and trying to find ways around problems, and then and then finally finding the solution, and then repeating that over and over.
Yeah, like Metroid itself is a pure experience. There's no dialogue, there's no text except for like the opening cutscene. It's all you. If they were to make a movie, they would have to change that, because like you can't just sit there in silence for 90 minutes. I actually wouldn't mind that. Like I personally,
Oh, that would be cool art.
yeah, it would be an
kind of
art
thing to
move,
do.
but yeah, like I way prefer the first half of Wall-E to the second, even
Sure.
though I kind of like the second. But like a pure silent Metroid movie would be weird, so they would have to like introduce dialogue and other characters to work with. Otherwise, it's this like indie like art house movie where it's just one person. It would be like a play, you know, only one person can do. So like, but when you do that, you get like Other M. Now to be fair, that wasn't because it was writing. It was because it was poor writing. But
Yeah.
like it's just not quite the same when you're just talking to other people. You don't get that feeling of isolation.
Well, also built into that 11 seconds of fun is also like one of the things that you can do with that 11 seconds of fun is like the puzzle of discovering a lore bit, a bit
Yeah.
of lore. So movies reveal have a couple different ways to give you backstory on things. The most common is like dialogue of
Yeah.
bad in a lot of bad instances. It's voiceover. You can,
That can be done well though. Like
I
audio
said a lot
logs
of
or
bad.
notes. Yeah.
Yeah, you can have good voiceover, but it's considered most of the time it's considered a bad way of doing it.
Yeah.
It can be done well, but it has to be done by somebody who knows what they're doing.
But yeah, like you said though, a lot of it is the discovery. Like imagine if they made a Dark Souls movie.
Yeah,
where,
that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Oh, you were? Because like a lot of what's cool about that is what you infer from what you find.
Correct.
But if they made a movie of it, they would be like, ah, this clue must mean this, and then it's explicit, and the mystery and the sense of like, what do you make of it is just gone.
So the way that you have to play like the Dark Souls-ish kind of lore dropping is you have to do it like Alien did, and just have the jockey there and be like, what the fuck was that? I don't know.
Yeah, this universe exists. If you don't, if you weren't here at the time, then that's your problem. Like the universe moves on without you.
Yeah, you can only guess at what the space jockey was in the original movie. I'm not going to get into any of the sequels or spin-offs or anything like that where they try to take that mystery away from you. But the only thing that you just see this what the fuck thing.
Yeah.
And you have to, and your brain is coming up with all kinds of things to explain it, and nobody has the answer. And that is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But the thing about movies is that the visual, the moving visual medium can be extremely powerful, and the best movies know how to use it well just by showing you something.
Yeah, and like even though you do get an explanation for this, it also makes me think of The Thing when they go to the Norwegian base and they see all the dead people and they're like, "Whoa! Like what did this?"
Yeah, and that's the discovery end of a movie. You have to build in the fun on a roller coaster ride with a movie.
Yeah, like you yourself have to like try to figure out what's going on, because if everything's explained as you go, then that's what makes me think like. Even with Indiana Jones, like, those movies are a lot of fun, but, like, when he opens the treasure chest and sees gold, it's like, that's not the part that wows me. That's more the payoff for his journey than, like, oh, it was jewels. Like, that's not what I'm here for.
I mean, I really do like kind of the letdown at the end of the first movie in Lost Ark. Raiders of the Lost Ark, when the Nazi opens up the Ark of the Covenant and just finds like dust. But like it's very obvious that that's where what the Ten Commandments are now. Like they're pulverized from time. But like I do like that. There is some fun in subversion as well in movies. Movies do that well. But like what I was gonna say, what I was getting at is there have been great games before Dark Souls that have engaged in lore. In fact, one of the Nintendo has done it best with Zelda and Metroid.
Yeah, I was gonna say Metroid again. Yeah.
Yeah, Zelda has, like, before recent times has been very like a lot of the story has been inferred. And that's like the best stuff about Zelda is just like, why the fuck is there a laser statue? Like, nobody can explain that.
Yeah, like what you are supposed to be doing is rescuing the princess from the bad guy, and you find out how to get through dungeons to do it. But yeah, like, what is this world that I live in? Because I went outside and saw trees and weird monsters. Okay, I got it. But yeah, but then the dungeons are just bizarre, and Zelda's run with that through like the entire series, including Breath of the Wild. These weird like robot things that fight you. You're like, what?
Yeah, I would say starting with and even in the first game, there's some weird stuff. Like there is a one of the bad guys that the guys that throw the boomerangs at you. One of those guys is good and gives you money. Like he's like, it's a secret to everyone. Here, have this.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, like you don't know.
Yeah, like there's some mystery there. Like they built in some cool stuff into what was a simplistic game because they had like limitations, and then they kind of have still ran with that because like Link still doesn't have much of a personality even going through things, and what they have done instead is they've made all the characters around him have tons of personality. Like Zelda, all of a sudden is one of the most complex characters in a video game. Like
Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild.
In Breath of the Wild, she's one of the best video game characters that I've come across. Like she's like a wonderfully written character because she's complex. She's disappointed, jealous, upset, like distraught, and also still trying very hard. Like it's a very complex character that has a motivation, like, and also isn't 100% behind you because they're jealous of you, which is a really amazing thing. Like Link has never really had somebody be jealous of him before, and like this is like a really maybe Saria, maybe, but like only glimmers of that.
Yeah, like not really. Like like everybody's just kind of been like Link's always just been in his own universe.
Yeah.
Like in Link to the Past, like you have some house in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. Like you don't know anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in the Kokiri Forest, whoops, you weren't even a Kokiri. Does that matter? Not really. Go play the real game now. Go out into the big worlds. Okay.
Yeah, and story in games like that are generally drip fed to you, even in the ones that do have the most of it. Like you were rewarded with a cutscene. Once you complete an objective, you are rewarded with more story once you complete an objective. That's how the game gets you to keep going. So adapting a video game into a movie in particular is really difficult.
Well, the whole thing is a cutscene, isn't it?
I would think that some video games would be better TV shows because it doesn't have that distillation thing going on where you have to distill like all that's good about a certain thing into your 2 hours. For instance, what I was going to say in conjunction with that is a lot of the best RPGs right now have more in common with a TV show or an anime. So Yakuza Like a Dragon, I talk about that a lot because I just love it so much. And Dragon Quest XI, and all the modern Tales games all have skits in them, like where the characters are bonding. And that doesn't happen over the course of a movie very often, and you can show it, but it's best shown over the course of a longer period of time.
Yeah, it makes me think of Lord of the Rings, just
yeah,
like the
exactly.
between parts of their journey, like because
That's actually the best parts. The best.
Yeah,
parts
that's the
of
thing.
that
Like, there's the
stuff.
dungeons, but a lot of the movie is the traveling between the dungeons and just whatever happens in the middle. Like, who are you going to talk to? The people you're with.
Exactly, and so that's where a lot of the characterization is fleshed out. It's where
Yeah, because you can't
yeah.
like you usually don't really do character moments in the plot areas because you got to do the plot stuff.
Like you typically just have simple motivations like this is a bad guy, I need to go kill him.
Yeah, it's like the most basic. It makes me think of Beowulf.
Yeah,
There is like one
the
plot
hero's
point.
journey, right?
A monster attacked the village. Who will kill the monster? I'm strong. I'll kill the monster. And then he does.
Yeah, think about Star Wars. I mean, some of the best moments are when they're just hanging out on the Millennium Falcon on their way to something, right?
Yeah, or even at Luke's house where the
yeah.
droids are getting a sense of him and he's playing with his little spaceship figure.
Yeah, I mean, like let the Wookiee win. You know that. They're
Yeah, the chess game. Yeah, that's
the
great.
chess game. The chess game
Wookiees
is like one of the most charming parts
droids
of.
aren't known to rip people's arms out of their sockets when they lose.
That's one of the most charming parts of the entire movie. Like some of the best stuff was like hanging out on like seeing what the fuck the Jawas have, like all that weird crap that they've amassed in the Sandcrawler, right? I mean that's cool stuff. Like Star Wars does this well, and that's why Star Wars works when it's done well. Like I actually went on a rant because Attack of the Clones was on, or no, Revenge of the Sith was on TV at a restaurant I was at, and it was a small restaurant on Friday, and I was watching it, and my wife like looks at it and she's just like, oh man, like what's up with this movie? And they showed like Padme dying, like
Of grief.
of grief, which is
That's such a like a King Arthur thing. Like nobody dies of grief.
Well, I was talking to her about it because she's just like, oh, does Natalie Portman show up anywhere else? I was like, no, she just died, and she was just like, of what? And she's like, and I was
Literally
like,
of
grief.
sadness. Yeah.
And she's just like, oh, that's bullshit. And I was just like,
Well,
yes.
that's such an old British person way to write. Like, women die of grief. They have a case of the vapors. They're always fainting. It's that's like what a weird thing to do in Star Wars.
And she's like in her early 20s in that movie.
I know.
like she, it's not like she had a heart attack like or something, like, and they're also like they also have like advanced technology. Like what the fuck did she die from? Like
Well, that was the thing.
Make any fucking
The
sense.
advanced technology, the medical droid was like, I can't see anything physically wrong with her. I'm like, oh, fuck you.
this is so fucking dumb. And then she's just like, oh, that's dumb. And I was just like, yes. And I was just like, that. And for that reason, there are only 3 good Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
And really, and then I exclaimed, only really 2, actually.
Return
2
of the
good
Jedi is
Star
like
Wars
half a good
movies.
movie.
I mean, Return of the Jedi is way better than anything else after that. Let's just put it. Let's just face it. But like, 1 and 2 are like the best of Star Wars, and then The Mandalorian and like Clone Wars.
Yeah, Tartakovsky's Clone Wars.
Well, either Clone Wars is good. Like,
Okay, I don't
TV
know
show.
the other Clone Wars, but
Yeah.
Tartakovsky's was fucking killer.
But yeah, like, and a lot of the comics are really good. I'll give you that. And the Timothy
A lot of
Zahn
people
stuff is
who
good.
are not George Lucas writing Star Wars
Yeah,
are pretty good. Yeah,
Exactly. Well, like, Empire Strikes Back was not written by Lucas.
that's true.
So, I mean,
I couldn't find one stupid stuffed animal in Empire. It's bullshit. Closest it came was like the Ugnaughts.
so like, I went on a rant, and other people heard me in the restaurant. I was just like, yeah, I'm a nerd, and I'm supposed to like this, but in reality, it's a bunch of whiny baby bullshit.
Well, that's episode 2.
Well, Star Wars is for babies, and we argue about it all the time. We're supposed to like it, and and like a
And
nerd.
then one guy in the restaurant was like, "Yeah, Yeah.
A nerd at the bar was just like stifling a laugh. He's just like sitting there like laughing his ass off.
I'm just picturing you like getting a drink at the bar getting sloshed. Here's the problem with Star Wars. Everyone's just awkwardly staring at you.
It's true though. But like what I'm trying to say is like video games like give you small rewards, and movies have to be constantly rewarding, and like it's you can be active in watching a movie, but only like people that are really into movies are active watchers, right? So
depends on the movie. I mean, if it's a murder
Yeah.
mystery, then I'm assuming you're trying to figure it out.
yeah, that's true. But
I mean, if there's any kind of mystery, you're like, where's it going? And I hope it's not something really stupid like some of Shyamalan's work.
But yeah, I think a TV show is a much like better way of doing things. I just think and recently I've gravitated towards like the high budget television show being better adaptation of like book series and stuff like that, because like you can adapt
Witcher,
an
for
entire
example.
novel across a season rather than having to distill a single book into a single movie.
That's basically the Henry Cavill Witcher show, right?
Yeah.
That's the books.
Yeah, I mean,
Apparently,
like,
it's a kind of hybrid of the books and the games, but I think it's mostly the books.
yeah, I think it has to be because
Well, yeah,
it's
because like
licensed from the
people
books.
who are not Polish only know about The Witcher because of the video games.
But yeah, what I'm trying to say is, what makes a good adaptation is that you need to have something that replicates the feel and what you like about a video game, and doesn't change it, but also adds to it, which
Yeah, and
is
the thing is,
a
a
tough
lot of
thing
people.
to do.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people, I think, do that stuff kind of superficially. Like, I'm supposed to make this movie, okay, I guess I'll do it. So, like, look, he did his signature move from the fighting game. There it is. And it's like, that is something. But, like, you know what a perfect example is? I mentioned Silent Hill was better than it had a right to be for an adaptation. Silent Hill Revelation, not so much. There's one part I remember that, like, took me a second to realize what it was, and then I was like, oh, I get it, and then I realized, oh, that's stupid. Did you see Revelation, the second one?
No, that I haven't seen that.
Okay. There's a part where Heather's going to Silent Hill, because, I mean, you play the third game, right? The first half of that is not in Silent Hill. She has to go there. And there's a part where she gets to I think it was the motel. I want to say it was the motel before the amusement park part. And there's like, I think it was, what the hell was it? It was like a glass slipper or like a red shoe or something like that. Just inexplicably, just like on the bedpost or on like a shelf or something, there's just like a fucking shoe for no reason. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. In the video game, when you're in the amusement park, there's like a statue of Snow White and of, I want to say, Cinderella. And Cinderella's missing a shoe, Snow White's missing an apple. You gotta put the little artificial things on them to open a locked door. But the movie doesn't do that, it just has a fucking shoe. And it's like, if you played the game, you'd know what this is. And I'm like, yeah, I did, and I'm pissed that it's just a shoe that's not actually gonna be a part of anything. Like, because if you didn't play the game, then you're like, what the fuck? And if you did, you're like, well, why didn't you do anything with it? It's just weird.
Yeah, see, this is the thing about movies can't replicate, is that like tinkering with something is fun, and so you can tinker with something in a video game, like playing with a Rubik's cube, right? Is potentially fun, for somebody who is trying to solve that puzzle. Well, like, tinkering in a video game is something that happens. You try different things and you experiment and try to resolve whatever puzzle you're doing, right?
Yeah, and if you do that in a movie, like, oh, the statue's missing an apple, I need to go back to the hotel? Like,
yeah, you can't.
in a movie that's like boring as hell.
Yeah,
backtracking in a movie.
Also, you don't want to see somebody thinking. You want to see them progressing. Like,
Yeah, that's one of those things where they have to solve it very quickly because it's a movie, but they'll have to explicate their thinking process. Like, oh, this is missing this piece, which I remember from that location. I'll have to get it. But then there's no puzzle because they just know. So like, it's very hard to execute puzzles in movies.
yeah. I mean, the best of them like go through a thought process that's active.
Yeah, it's like the Indiana Jones, like, Last Crusade,
Exactly.
or like, I gotta watch out for these blades because I remember the clues that said they swing at these locations. Oh, that I remember because of my history knowledge that these letters didn't exist back when this puzzle was made, so I need to only step on the old like Latin letters. And like, so like, those are quick but like clever enough, but you're not watching somebody like with like a puzzle box, like turning it over in their hands. Because like, what is that? That's a movie.
Yeah, I mean, the one that I was gonna point out was like Die Hard 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance.
The riddles that you heard when you were like 8 years old.
Yeah, but like, what was fun about those is that like they have the characters bantering about how to solve the puzzle, and
I
that's
need
pretty
5
fun.
gallons of this water and 3 of this one, but you only have a container that holds 4 gallons, like that kind of thing.
I do like that kind of stuff, though. I do I do like that, but I do riddles.
I do kind of like the riddle with like, I was going to St. Ives and I encountered 7 cats and 7 wives, and like, like one of them was trying to do all the math in their head and the other was like, no, I encountered them, it's 1, and they had to quickly argue it and just punch it in. Because yeah, if you just have one person thinking about it, it's just awkward silence.
Yeah, exactly. So like, you know, and you could do far worse than, you know, somebody like, you know, Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. Like
You're just sniping at each other with their uneasy alliance.
Yeah, exactly. Two people with a really great charisma arguing with each other. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Mario, for instance. Like, what is that even gonna be like? Like, Charlie Day is Luigi, and like he came out on Colbert, and they asked him about it, and he was just like, I literally cannot say anything. Like they've basically threatened me.
I'm not surprised.
About, I cannot tell you anything about this.
The funny thing is, though, at the end of the day, like, it's an Illumination Mario movie. How sophisticated do you think this is going to be?
Well, the only thing I can say is that maybe it has to get meta to some degree, kind of like Wreck-It Ralph does. You know, like it has to be that way.
The story's
like,
been told 100 times. Save the princess from Bowser. Like, why are we even doing this?
Yeah, it can't happen within its own space because the video games do that, right? It has to be a fish out of water kind of deal. It has to be like the Masters of the Universe, you know, the Masters of the Universe movie, where
which was fantastic.
a Canon Films classic.
I can't even believe, I keep forgetting that was a Canon film movie.
But you know what I mean is like they have to have a reason for giving them like movie star voices rather than their own like Italian gibberish voices, right? They have to do
rather
that.
than half of the cast being Charles Martinet.
Exactly. Wah.
Yeah,
But,
wahoo, wahoo, wahoo. It's like, yeah, all right. I actually love him, and he does do distinctive voices for each character, but he's just fucking everybody, like, except for the women characters. He's just every character in the game.
Did you see that TikTok of that guy dressed up as Wario goes to the men's room and goes, M for Mario, that's not good. And then turns around and goes, W for Wario.
Oh no.
And then walks in.
That's so bad. That's pretty brilliant, actually.
But yeah, I mean, like, Mario doesn't have a story. I mean, that's why Shigeru Miyamoto has basically been like, shove off with your canon and your bullshit. Like, Mario is whatever I want it to be at any given time.
One of my favorite little bits in an interview was somebody, like, he was doing like a Q&A, and somebody's question was like, we know the Koopa kids. They're presumably Bowser's kids. Like, who's their mom? And he just points at himself.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
no,
like,
Bowser Jr. is what he said.
It might have been Bowser Jr. Yeah, who's the mom? Like, me. Like, pretty much, yeah.
Hilarious. It's like it's a cartoon. Shut up. Like nobody
yeah,
cares.
like it's Mario. Like get the not to mention several Mario games, like more than one, have indicated that they're just like a stage. Like Mario 3 famously, but like Mario Power Tennis on the GameCube, which is actually like an amazing game. Did you? I think I showed you the opening cutscene of that game.
Yeah.
It's like 3 minutes long. Like,
it's
it
awesome.
keeps going. It's way over the top. But when you beat the game, it's like bloopers from that cutscene. And I don't mean like Charles Martinet messing up his lines. I mean like like Toy Story 2. Like they did CG movies of the characters bloopers because it was a movie.
I mean, that's not to say that there aren't some really good video game adaptations out there, and I'm not just talking about like movies. I mean, there are some really great anime adaptations of movies. One that or of video games, and one that we haven't talked about at all. But Pokemon. I mean, like think about it. Like that's like a perfect setup for a show. Is like you have a billion characters that you could do different things with. Like, you know, different species that you could do different storylines with.
And you perfectly integrate the game by having the character say, like, Pokemon, use this move. It's the same thing with Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, they explain the rules every time they do anything. I will use this card, which allows me to do this. And, like, you can buy the card.
Yeah. So that's really cool stuff. When you do something like that. Like, you could have a Magic the Gathering TV show, like, just like that. All right.
I'm actually, like, I'm genuinely shocked they didn't. I mean, they have lots of novels. Lots of them.
I don't know why they haven't either. I mean, you could have a Yu-Gi-Oh! Like show.
They have, like, that Arcane, that League of Legends show, which is apparently, like, incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard nothing but positive things about it. Like, I don't see why you couldn't do, like, one of the arcs of Magic the Gathering. Like, the Planeswalker stuff or, like, the Weatherlight stuff. I mean, that's going old school now. They would adapt something new, I'm sure, but like there's a lot of real, even just from fucking playing cards with flavor text, there's like legit story in there.
Yeah, I really like that Tempest era and like Urza Saga.
Yes, I mean that's from like the 90s, but like yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that stuff. I mean, like it's just you can do certain things. You just have to work within, like you have to work within like the framework that you're given, you know, like there have been some decent I mean there's been some really bad ones. I mean you have Double Dragon, which has had a bad movie and a bad TV show.
Oh yeah, the American TV show.
Yep. Street Fighter has had two bad live action movies.
The first one's entertainingly bad, although it's bad. The second one I think is just bad.
Yeah.
It's had a great a great animated movie, an alright animated movie, and a not very great animated movie. And then there was a Street Fighter 4 animated, like, OVA, I think, which apparently was, like, alright.
Yeah.
And then there was the terrible American TV show.
I was going to say
seasons.
Darkstalkers apparently has two bad TV shows, an American one and a Japanese one.
Yeah, the Japanese one looks absolutely gorgeous, but apparently it's like a bad show. And I've seen the American show because like as a joke, like Mr. Ryu like showed it to us. It's not good.
Apparently the like fans say that the American show is better than the anime.
Yeah, the Japanese one is apparently just atrocious, even though it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm just trying. Like, Final Fantasy has never had a really good adaptation. Like, it's had
Advent Children is as good as it gets.
Yeah, but that's like it's just cinematics. Like that like that movie.
I mean, there you go.
Not a movie. It's a cinematic.
It really kind of is. Spirits Within was interesting, but I think people thought they would get something different when it's called Final Fantasy.
Well, they had a sci-fi storyline that had only some fantasy in it, and
yeah, like if they didn't tell you it was a Final Fantasy movie, you probably wouldn't have known.
Yeah, what they should have done was they should have had like magic classes and things like that. Like that.
There was a guy
something to
called
bring you
Sid.
to-
Take what you can get.
Yeah, but they should have integrated like elements of the franchise. Like the thing with Final Fantasy is that like all of them kind of take place during different like worlds and eras of like of technology and things like that. So you have ones that do have futuristic technology in it. Like Final Fantasy VII famously has, like, they all kind of have some kind of futurism to them, like, the airboats and things like that. But, like...
Yeah, like the Zeppelins, but I'd say they first started going, like, clearly this is future tech in, like, 6.
6, yeah.
I mean, like, in Final Fantasy IV, you could go to the moon, but, like, that's, like, the exception to the rule. But FF6, the opening cutscene is guys in mechs, you're like, this ain't your daddy's Final Fantasy.
But they all have elements of like magic users and like and sword users. Like they all have that. Like even if 14 they have that, right? Or I mean 15 I meant. So like the newest one.
You gotta have a sword.
What's that?
You gotta have a sword.
Yeah, but there's no swords in the movie. There's no like there's no.
No, it's like, again, if they didn't tell you it was Final
magic.
Fantasy, you wouldn't known.
Yeah, there's just they get mystical at the end of the movie and that's it. And that's really a shame because that movie could have been something, but like it just had no ties. It had no crystals. Where are the crystals? God damn it! Where are the tropes?
Where are the summons?
Yeah, exactly. Where's any of that? Like
summon Yojimbo and have him not do jack shit until you pay him a lot of money. I still say that was such a kick-ass fight in 14, where like eventually he just leaves. He's like, you're not paying me enough to do a level of attack high enough to kill him, so I'm just gonna leave. Like, you were never a real threat. It's like the coolest thing.
Well, there you have a particularly bad adaptation. It's not a bad movie, but it's a really bad adaptation because it doesn't represent the franchise at all, right? It doesn't. It doesn't. Like, just like you said, it doesn't represent anything. You have the House of the Dead movie, which doesn't have anything to fucking do with House of the Dead.
They literally cut the game footage at one point. That's as good as you're gonna get.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with any.
And same goes for like Alone in the Dark. There's like virtually nothing going on except the guy's name is Edward Carnby.
Apparently, there's like a really recent movie that is based off of like an Ubisoft VR game called Werewolves Within, that it is the highest rated video game movie on Rotten Tomatoes, and like
maybe because they don't know it's a video game adaptation.
Well, maybe like the actual movie itself is apparently really good.
Okay.
I haven't seen this, and I want to see it. If it's 86% on it, Rotten Tomatoes,
for a video game movie, that's like
that's a really good movie in general. Like the Rotten Tomatoes is pretty harsh
because like the best video game movies are like 60, 70 because they're really not that great. Like an 86 for a video game adaptation is crazy.
Yeah. So this is certified fresh. I don't think like. There literally are no other certified fresh video game adaptations on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, this is the only one. The ones that are near its top are Angry Birds Movie 2.
Yeah, apparently that was like weirdly
decent.
Good. Yeah.
Detective Pikachu, which was fun and cute, but again, like Pokemon is done well when it's done well. Sonic the Hedgehog is up there. Okay, and then it starts getting into the rotten movies after only those, right? So
Mortal Kombat isn't rotten, it's just very simple.
Well, yeah, but like this is by critical acclaim, right? This is this isn't by general sentiment. This is by critics at the time. So Mortal Kombat, for instance, has a rating of 45 from the 95 one. The newer Mortal Kombat is higher at 54% rather. Apparently, the newer Tomb Raider movie is pretty decent too, but
I forgot that existed.
Yeah.
That's the one with the poster where she has like a weirdly long neck.
yeah, like if you look at these, wow, Monster Hunter is is a lot higher than I thought it would be, but it only has a 45, but it's still higher than I
That's
thought it
about
would
45 higher than I thought it would be.
be. Exactly. Out of all the Mia Djokovic, Paul W.S. Anderson movies,
Yeah, Resident Evil 1's like as good as it's gonna get.
yeah, I wouldn't pick Monster Hunter to be up there. Yeah, Prince of Persia has the 37%. That's a boring movie at best. Yeah, so
Which is funny because Prince of Persia is Uncharted before Uncharted.
yeah, I mean, Uncharted is a great like Indiana Jones clone. It really is, and then it kind of branched off into its own thing,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. By the third one, you like the characters have like real like depth to them.
Yeah.
And then in the fourth one, they really do. That fourth one is one of the best characterizations of like characters in a video game that I've ever seen. But anyway, I think we can move on to fan stuff from here.
Yeah. All right, so we got a few comments here. Living Corpse left a few. It's funny because while Capcom isn't American, they are the most westernized of the Japanese game studios, and that they make games more for the Western audience than for the Eastern. Oh yeah, this is kind of funny for Path of Neo. Giant Smith gets his giant sunglasses from a billboard advertisement. That's genius, actually.
Yeah, that is pretty smart.
If you're gonna have an important plot detail happen in a different medium, then do it right. Mention it in the main medium. The series is usually in, and don't make it completely inaccessible. Like, important character from film franchise dies in game or comics set between films. Have a flashback of it or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, from what I remember, humans are given the option to leave the Matrix. Yeah, maybe I only saw it in the theater. It's been a while.
Yeah.
So I imagine some, like Cypher, who couldn't deal with the reality of the world being a post-apocalyptic wasteland, chose to stay in the Matrix and have their memory of reality wiped. Maybe.
Yeah,
and then Fakafon says, I'd forgotten about the MTV parody clip until you mentioned Will Ferrell. I went back and watched it, and damn, the part with the architect still cracks me up so much. Just the idea of him losing his confidence to Neo is so good. He just tackles him through the wall.
I wear the pants!
Don't make me get out of this chair!
Ergo!
Like that's it, I warned
you!
Ergo! Accordingly! Vis-a-vis!
Highway Crossing Frog. Amazing. It's a terrible name.
I know, it's the lamest name I ever heard. It's so good.
That is one of the best parodies of anything ever.
That's a terribly lame name. I know.
Highway Crossing Frog.
They were going to call it Highway Crossing. So for their question, School Filmer says, what are the most frustrating game crashes you have experienced? Yeah. Recently, I've been playing Saints Row 4 on the Switch, and while it has crashed a few times trying to enter certain missions, none are as frustrating than the cutscene after the side-scrolling beat-em-up section. After that finishes, or is skipped, the game crashes. I tried that section 3 times, still crashes. I have to try again, hoping I get lucky. No wonder that game was so cheap. Ouch.
In Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, there's a certain part where it crashes on my PS3 every time, and it's during the evil girlfriend episode, and like it crashes on the bus or the subway. Yeah, the subway, and every time, and with something like an 80% like chance of crashing, and I've never seen it happen anywhere else, and I've re-downloaded it a whole bunch of times, and I never see it brought up. I'm just glad that...
I remember when they announced Scott Pilgrim was coming back, the entire internet flipped out. This is our big chance. And I was kind of excited on principle because that's one of the most hyped, like, bring it back games that I can think of.
Sure.
Like, except for maybe, like, Shenmue 3. Like, oh my god, they're going to give it another chance. But, like, my only memory of actually playing the game was at your place, where it crashed on, like, level 1 or level 2.
Yeah, it was level 2.
That was it. So I'm like, well, I don't care about this game. Like, I couldn't play it for more than, like, 15 minutes.
Yeah, so they thankfully fixed everything like that in the new version, but yeah, I mean that was really frustrating for me because I really liked the game, but it really hindered my experience. So like it happened very frequently. that particular crash, and it would be like the kind of crash that would just like I wouldn't like it wouldn't let you do anything whatsoever.
Yeah, you gotta like unplug the PS3.
Yeah,
It's such a pain in the ass.
It was
I had that
awful.
with Ride to Hell Retribution, although like, surprise, surprise.
I mean, yeah,
What'd you think was gonna happen?
Clusterfuck of a game. Yeah.
Oh my god, did you ever see the clip on Mr. Ryu and my playthrough where like it just blasts out your fucking headphones?
Oh yeah. You showed it to me. It was awesome.
Geo, woof. when I put up my reveal that this is the game I'm playing next, somebody in the comments said like R.I.P. Lotus's hardware. Like by that time I'd already beaten the game, but it was like, yep. That scared the daylights out of me. Was that my soundbar? Did the soundbar fuck up? No, it was the game. Like you could see the waveform like clip from the source audio in the editing program. How did that? What? Like how did that happen? But all right, I could think of two frustrating crashes. One was from specifically the GOG version of Omicron Nomad Soul. There's one of the first-person shooter segments where you have to get through this little conveyor belt area, which it's not very hard, but it'll just crash. Like, it'll just, like, at that point. And so I Googled this. Like, am I the only one with this problem? No, I wasn't. It's just a thing with this game. So, like, a way around it was you could, like... Because I was like, do not tell me. I have to re-download this on Steam. I fucking refuse. But, like, if you, like, hug the left wall and, like, hop over the point where that would happen... It's not even, like, a cutscene trigger. It's just, like, an area in the level. It was so bizarre. Or, no, it wouldn't crash. Like, I just suddenly died. So it's not quite the same thing.
Yeah.
But, like, what?
It's something similar, though. I mean...
But you can maneuver around it, which is, like... But it wasn't like a death plane, though. It was very weird. But for most frustrating crashes, I have a real winner for you. I've probably told you about this. Did I ever tell you about Pokemon Yellow?
I don't think you have, actually.
Oh, you're gonna like this. This is a real winner for game crashes. So I did not and still do not have a Game Boy. A new 3DS XL is the first ever handheld and only handheld I've ever owned. So I did not have a Game Boy growing up, so I played Pokemon through Pokemon Stadium, the transfer pack. And I think I was transferring to or from something. I forgot what was happening. And the game crashed, and you got to turn the system off. So when I turned the system back on, my data had been corrupted, so there goes my 100% Pokemon Yellow save file. That sucked.
Wow.
I mean, like, to be perfectly honest,
Awful.
like... I was done with Pokemon, like, when Gold and Silver came out, because I was like, I don't want to play the same game again, but with more shit to go and fastidiously capture, but, like, that still certainly soured me.
Yeah, I don't blame you there.
I actually had all 151.
Jeez, that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I've experienced it elsewhere, but, like, in recent memory, that's one of them. I mean, oh, here's one. You know that game that's supposed to be kind of like Hexen Project Warlock?
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, I think, yeah, it's like Dusk, it's like the new shooter, yeah.
It won't even start on my computer.
Really?
Yeah, and, like, apparently I'm the only person who has that problem, or, like, close to it, because, like, I'm going through, like, the forum, like, the Steam forum, and nobody's talking about it. And I brought it up, and then one of the developers, like, took a look at my, like, they actually took the time to look at my, like, debug file that it spits out, you know, when it crashes.
Yeah, when you post all that gibberish that, like, only a programmer understands what it means.
Yeah, he says, this thing and this thing are causing problems, and they're, like, normal processes. And I'm like, he's like, try shutting those down. I was like, I'm not shutting anything down. Fix your game. like this is, I don't run anything weird on my computer. Like everything I have is either for work or it's a video game, right? Like, yeah. I don't have any odd, like, programs running on my computer. I don't, like, data mine anything or anything like that. I don't have any viruses or anything on my computer. It's just like, no, I'm not gonna shut down, like, a process that auto starts on my computer every time you know I want to play your game that I could play on a Nintendo Switch. So that's what I did. I just rebought it on Nintendo Switch because it wasn't that expensive. But it's just like that boggles my mind. Like just something that you're doing with your game must be really weird because I've never had that problem with anything else. Like it must be a flaw in your programming. Like if this thing is conflicting with you, because like I play like much higher powered games than your game on my computer. It's just kind of stinks that I can't play an old school game that you're supposed to play with a mouse on my PC, you know?
Yeah.
So, that would be my my recent pick.
Okay.
So, anything else that you wanted to bring up, Lotus?
Jeez, that's tough. Like, I don't know if I have like games I play on console, like they don't usually crash.
Yeah. Most
like,
of them get patched.
It is baffling though when it happens on a PS4. All of a sudden, it just pops you back to the HUD. Like, oh, there was an error. Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm trying to think of what I was playing that did that.
Most games like autosave pretty frequently nowadays, so
yeah, that's
thankfully
true too.
You don't have those problems.
Yeah, I completely forgot what game I was playing that did this, but just like it pops you back to the HUD with a little like, oh, turns out there was an error. Like, what?
That's only happened to me like a handful of times though.
Yeah, I think it was some specific thing I was playing, and I do not remember what it was. But like, yeah, normally that doesn't happen. But it's just like, it's not like the system freezes. It's just like, oh, you're done playing now, and it just boots you back out. Like, all right.
Yeah, and like, kind of like what I was getting at. It's usually not that frustrating nowadays because like you can usually get past those parts. You know, they just kind of momentarily happen because you know you turned on your system and your system got overwhelmed or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that stuff happens, and things save frequently enough that it's usually not a problem. It's only when like you lose data. That's a problem. When you can't get past a specific part no matter what you do, that's a problem.
Or even playing for an hour and you haven't saved, and
exactly.
then just a regular weird little crash happens, like, oh, too bad.
Or you're playing a game that has a particular luck quotient to it, like you know, like Binding of Isaac. A crash can be particularly really devastating to a run. To your run.
It can, but if you reload, odds are you'll start in that room because I think it saves each room.
But I'm talking about
in
games
theory,
like
that's
that.
a nightmare. Yeah, like if a luck-based thing, whoops, the game's gone now. Do a new run, that sucks.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, that's the show for this week. We want to thank all of our fans who contributed questions and all those comments too. That was great. Thanks for keeping us supplied with. Please keep us supplied with topics of your own by submitting questions on the YouTube and Soundcloud pages. You guys know that I'm tired by this point. While there, please give us thumbs up, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesdays for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much anything. Just let me know who you are.
And you could follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you're interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting, there it is, upcoming games for me to Let's Play. Or
Lotus is tired too.
I don't know what you're talking about. Or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
All right, that's just prime. We'll catch everybody on Tuesday then.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.